weak. And so the first category I will get into is the liar. Number one thing. Number one, very important thing to always remember, because part of what traps them into watching them and wanting to answer questions about what they're doing and what's going on, and then once we see it, the eye gate and the images put the lie in us strong and hardcore feelings and thoughts in our mind and our body. It puts the lie back in us, so we start fantasizing and think it's real. The images are so powerful because everything they're doing is a lie. The foundation of everything they're doing is liar. That is their first language. Their first language is lying. Once you understand the foundations, that gives you so much. Once you understand these foundational things of how much they lie and how much they believe their own lie and they're walking lies and it's all lies, even when these little questions come up, but this, but that, no. It's a lie, period. That helps a lot. Once you maybe have journaled out and recognized some of the trickiness of the whole thing, you can just start writing it all off and getting further away. It's all lies. Everything is lies. Even the feelings and the fantasies they put into you, it's all lies. They feed from the father of lies. That's who they're working for, sadly. We avoid that like the plague. The child of God will avoid lies like the plague. Like a plague. Like a hardcore Ebola plague. You don't want to hear Jesus on Judgment Day. He's separating out sheep and goats. And you're like, oh, I need to be in the sheep category because I do not need to be in eternal hellfire and condemned. And he says, oh, you know what? Satan is your father. Satan is your father, the father of lies, not Father God. No, do not follow the lies. Do not fall for the lies. You can't trust your feelings. You can only trust the Word of God, because other people can influence your feelings so hardcore, and spirits can also. Get away. Their first language is lies. They're always lying somehow or other. They're always lying. There's no foundation with anyone with that. New supply. Everything's wonderful. They're going on vacations. They built a multi-million-dollar home. It's a lie. There's no foundations that can be built on that. That's why people that are living worldly, successful, wonderful, oftentimes, not all the time, but whenever you hear the story of them living this lavish, wonderful lifestyle, and they depend on the bottle, they depend on pills because they're not at peace, because the foundations are not there. Fundamentally, it is all a lie, and they know it. There's not enough truth there, and those things you don't want to trade places with some of these people and these lies that they're selling. You never want to trade places. You can build something so much because you're not a narcissist, because you love and care for people, you care about truth, and you want to build things in the truth. Even if it seems like you're behind, like I love Pink Girl Teaches channel. She talks about come from behind into your most significant state. You can very quickly come from behind, and you can very quickly build wonderful. God is helping you. You believe in the truth. No, that's the typical, stereotypical, biblical understanding of building on a rock versus building on sand. And I wrote in my book, too, that these people can build multi-million-dollar mansions on sand. You don't want that. You're building for eternity. It may take you a while. You know, you may be crushed at times and feel pain at times, and it may take you a while, and it may not look like it's as wonderful at first, especially whenever your things are more hidden with Christ. But you're building a multi-million-dollar mansion, so a real one on the rock. So it may take a while, but pretty quickly, when you're building on the truth, pretty quickly you can have what counts and what matters. Firmly, peacefully, beautifully, richly. Blessed. But the key is block the lies. Because another tool of the lie, of the images and the sounds that come in and program you into your mind and your body to feel things that aren't true. That's what they do. It's a lie. Part of what it does is it's trying to postpone and stall your building of your mansion with the Lord. So it's hard at first. It's tricky at first, but when you block all that and build with Jesus, you'll be there before you know it. They're always lying. Fundamentally, you can't believe their message. You have to doubt their message constantly. They make you doubt you and your desire for peace and sanity. It's all lies. The overarching reminder is super helpful when you're under the barrage of gaslighting and manipulation, crazy making, pity sob stories, horrible feelings. deep needs that they try to put into you. That's classic salesmanship. They come along and sell you something you weren't even thinking about. It's witchcraft. So the overarching reminder that they are lies, they're filled with lies, they're liars, that's how they work, so they have no foundation. So anything wonderful and magnificent they have is not even real. They can have wonderful, magnificent things that are not even real. Deep breath. It's all, always lies. You don't want to trade situations with that. Even when they think they're in a wonderful relationship, for example, I would not trade that for anything to risk being in the lake of fire with being an idolater and a fornicator. No, 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 no. I would not trade that for anything. That is a lie. No matter how wonderful they even might feel at the moment. The love bombing. It's a lie. So the fools and the evil people are caught in that, not you. They oftentimes can't even see it all, or they wouldn't be doing it, right? They're trapping themselves. The devil's trapping them. Don't get caught on the trap with them. Block. They choose, over time, they choose this deliberately for quick, fast, easy, and they're better than you. So don't have pity on it. Move on. You choose much better. It's time for you to do you, to refine yourself, to have rich, good things with the Lord, and have nothing to do with this evil. Block. Move on. So this is why you can expect the smear campaigns, by the way, and the character assassinations, even when they first meet you. Is because when someone is living that much in a lie and fragmented and all the lies that go with it, the living the lie, the lying verbally, the smear campaigns and the devalue really starts instantly. And I've even heard the person move on with a new supply, but they're instantly smearing them to keep everyone triangulated properly. And also the lying of smearing you because you're not matching some fake fantasy, idealistic, which is what they do to everyone, including new supply. And of course, as they move on, it gets worse, so they're going to even catch it worse than you. The foundation of lying is why you can expect a smear campaign. It's because anybody in their life that gets that close to them is always going to bring in reality. That's where they're going to get devalued and rejected hardcore, raged at, mistreated, disrespected, even behind scenes, smeared behind scenes, character assassinated behind scenes, is because they're constantly having to uphold the lie that anything real will defeat. So you're real and you're going to be constantly smeared. It's part of it. The lie, everything's lies first and always. They have to lie militantly in order to keep up their facade against reality. They will say and believe anything false against you. They'll believe false things against you. That's how they can convince others false things against you. You don't need that in your life. I mean, with a loving narcissist around, who needs the devil? They're trying to get others to see it, the lies against you. And it starts often in the love bombing phase. And a lot of them don't even see it or know it or realize what they're doing. You cannot afford that. You don't deserve that. They are, number 16, a walking lie. I got this phrase from Telsha on the T on NPD and relationships again. I love how she said they're a walking lie on 2 feet. And I'm like, thank you. That is how much not only they say lies, but they live lies. Everything that they project out there is a lie. Everything you're going to see them do on video, everything you're going to see them do on social media, or hear them say, or text message, or do in life is fundamentally, foundationally, a walking lie. That's how powerful the lie is. They often believe their own lies to a large degree. It's a lie. It's a helpful reminder of how powerful their lies are visibly. Just to look at photos of them is like witchcraft, or to look at photos or videos or audios of their life. It's powerful enough to convince them. And I call this a vortex. And it's powerful enough to convince other people who are either fools or sadly just uneducated. But not you. Not now that you have the information. They're building as powerful of a lie as they can over time because, of course, they want it to succeed. And they don't have the deeper wisdom of how this never succeeds. So they're building as powerful lies as they can because oftentimes they're trapped too. They're trapped into certain situations. So they've done it and they've got to keep doing it to keep it all up. So they believe it and they expect others to believe it. That's how it can be so convincing. And I've come to call this things like the tunnel vision, and the gaslighting and the seduction vortex, because it's also very seducing. Because in order for someone to believe a lie that's going to lead you to hell at the end, it has to somehow really catch you. It has to really catch you because it's stupid, it's wasteful, it's destructive, and then it leads to ultimate damnation. So it's got to really suck your emotions and your lust and your need and your desire. So you can see how God would use hard situations to purify people too. The ones that want, it's going to all work together for the good of the children of God. But the gaslighting vortex is so powerful. They gaslight themselves and they seduce themselves first. They're the one under it the hardest. You deserve to be completely out from under the seduction of and the suction. Sometimes it just feels like an energy suction. It's not even seducing you or getting your feelings as much as it is just energy. Maybe your thoughts and feelings. And a very applicable verse is from 2 Timothy 3:13. Evil men, which could be anyone, men and women. Evil men and seducers will wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. Because part of the vortex is they believe it. That's when it's most powerful, is when they're believing it to a large degree or completely. So that's why they will have 10,000 ways to argue, force you, double bind you, trap you, manipulate you, and just straight up lie to you. Gaslight, projection, all of it. Slowly erode your reality, slowly erode your feeling that you're worth anything, is to catch you up into the lying. So imagine yourself again in the worst state possible that you would never want to be in. They would easily put you into that condition, easily, for the rest of your life, in order to simply uphold their lies and their addictions. And they'll move on to someone else in a heartbeat to do the same thing to them, or 3 or 4 other people. So I can tell you guys, the only way to mean anything to them, ever, is to tell them forcibly and permanently, no. That's it. And I've seen people on social media, different groups, say, that's how you're going to get any respect from the narcissist. And they're like, the narcissists don't respect anything, but everybody respects that. There is a certain thing like, the only thing you're going to ever get validated from evil or any respect, or leave that one alone, or that's different. That one's different. That one's not a loser. They might not respect you, but they hate you because you're not a loser. You're not easily pushed around. You're not easily manipulated. You're not an easy target. It's just to have real boundaries. And they'll remember that for life, you know. That's going to be a witness too. That's the only way to help these people, is to be real strong reality. Otherwise, you'll be used like toilet paper. Those who make and love a lie are some of the people that the Bible says will not be saved in eternity, is those who love and make a lie. So that's an interesting study. Block, 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 because you are going to heaven and not to hell with them. Just saying. Remember what it really means. It's your life. They're in it to distract and trap souls for your life. So all the times that they're selling their lies, that they have a better life, better supply, I mean, that's the game they live for. What's better? What's better? What's better and best is what God has for you. That they never have those things in true peace and in true richness and health, where it actually works with foundations, where they're not split into 15 different realities. It's kind of like, would you rather live your life strung out on 5 different drugs that most of the time keep you feeling amazingly, these feelings of euphoria and high, and you can mostly keep your life juggled above the debt that it puts you in, the snowballs of debt, of broken promises, of hurt people. It's exactly the same concept. They would rather juggle 5 supplies, lie to everybody, and have everything broken, but feel super puffed up and look that way to certain people for a certain amount of time. The wise, careful people don't choose that life for a reason, and it's okay. These people, the devil leads them by the nose to hell based on feelings. Feelings and fantasies. It's like you want to live in denial and fantasy for a long time and then pay an ultimate price later. And most of us say, no, just give me balance, give me wholeness, give me rich with God. And I don't need to be super high and super elevated and super, no, just no. And so that's kind of what you're looking at, is that concept. And you're going to a better place. You are and were better, not arrogantly, just decently. No matter what lie they put out there about new supply or about their choices, their lifestyle, If you're founded in reality, you just have way better automatically. You're not even really coming from behind, like Pink Girl Teaches says. You just already were. You already were just fine, and you always will be because you are you have the truth. The weak and the godless are deceived and trapped by these kind of fantasies and tricks and traps of always having high and greater and better and more, meanwhile crumbling and destructive and hurting people. So that's nothing. That's not having anything to speak of. They're trapped by that. We move on. And we move on eventually with peace and power. Gaslighting can be so sneaky as far as their walking lies, and they're gaslighting you and trying to lie to you about your life. It can be offensive jokes. They can twist your reality. And people depend on each other for validation so that we don't just get too strong and too, I just believe myself all the time. I need to make sure with other people that I'm not self-deceived. And that's a healthy thing. That's not unhealthy to want to have other people check your reality and say, that's what I see too. Or somebody say, I see it a little different, so you may want to check that. That's healthy. They'll take it. That's why I think the word sociopath came about. They will take the social norms and decencies and take advantage of them. Of, oh, you're going to want validation and need validation. That's not necessarily codependent or sick. And they'll take that every little chance they can, and they'll subtly, gradually erode your confidence and your self-esteem and things like that. And some will do it more than others. They tease you. They may tease you. And they may really build into you that you want their validation, or look for people that really want validation. And then they can breadcrumb you to kind of like tease you and trick you and slowly seduce you where they want you, deny reality, or gaslight you. And they'll take advantage of normal blind spots to convince you at every turn to doubt your reality. Some people do this amazingly, a whole lot. I'm way more easily gaslit than I realized, because I've studied myself a whole lot lately. But there's some places where I'm just rock solid on, because, like I say, I can see so deeply and so much that a lot of times my ordinary thinking I've already validated externally in such a way as asking like 5 people. So I'm pretty convinced of my conclusion by the time I come to someone, and I can convince them more so than them make me doubt. But some people are just easily gaslit. Like, for example, if I had my car keys on the little tray by the door, because and I had my little things with my car keys that I wanted to take with me in the morning, I'm pretty rock solid that that's where I put them. That's where I always put them, and that's where I put everything together. And I could tell you about what time of day I did it, what I was doing when I did it, and what all I put together. Like, I just have all the details, rock solid. So, if someone were to tell me, if I went to that tray and I was kind of in a rush to get to work, and someone was like, oh, I was like, where are my car keys? Like, I know they were here. And somebody tried to tell me, with some of the gaslighting stories I hear, that I did not put my car keys there, that would make me so angry that what I would do is silent rage, plot my escape immediately. That would be enough for me to leave someone forever. If you would do something like that to my job, my health, my mental health, because see, that's part of how I'm so confident, is because I can see where all this goes like that. If someone did that kind of game on me, then they would be out of my life ASAP. ASAP. They would be gone. And then once I peacefully, healthily got away, I would probably tell some folks how they really were. Because that's just how strong my boundaries are, and how well I can see, and how convinced I am, and how not easily it would have to be sneakier. Some of these people are really sneaky with their gaslighting. But that kind of game doesn't work on me. It backfires horribly. And I wish everybody was that way, because I hate to see what people are easily gaslighted at. But something else that will convince people to stay, that maybe it wasn't so bad, and maybe it's not what it looks like, and is that they're also hooked into the situation. They're invested. They're deeply invested with these people in their church, in their identity of being a wife or a husband. So I get it. There's more. It's very complicated over some car keys that were misplaced. But once I caught somebody trying to throw off my day like that, you might as well have punched me in the face. and tried to convince people that I was crazy and needed to be in a psych ward all at the same time. I'm out of there. And I wish everybody was that way. But gaslighting can be very complex. There's thousands of sneaky ways to mind game someone until they need therapy, medicine, medical treatment, or hospitalization even. There was a time where I was gaslit by a whole situation, but it took a whole situation. I had 3 different angles hitting me hard. There was somebody who was kind of trying to convince me that it was God's will for them to be there. I was young and inexperienced, and they were super sneaky with their silent treatment and not answering text messages, and they were using spiritual warfare and praying and fasting for me to be convicted to be with them. And they had other people involved with it too, because those people wanted to paint me out as being unfaithful to him whenever I didn't know what to do, and we weren't even really boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were convinced to make me out to be an unfaithful person. And so they went on an agenda and a campaign to make me out as evil and unfaithful. And then I had outside people that were interested in me losing my faith and trying to curse me over that. It was a really long term. Everybody was hitting me with this mind game. What God did in that's just an example of how gaslighting can be very complex. And you guys probably already know from your own situations. As the times are more evil and foundations destroyed, we run into whole situations easier, where it's multi-dimensional cocktails of situations that are gaslighting us hardcore. God fixed that situation by setting it up to where the man in my situation had a clear choice of, will you man up, do what you're supposed to do, take accountability, put your family first, or will you put yourself first and hurt these people really bad? Keep selfishly hurting people. And so he just very strongly, adamantly chose selfish, hurt people, don't care. It was brought to like a head and a decision where it was obvious the decision he made, and then we were given peace about separating. And all the other people involved were taken care of too, as far as they were just shown that I'm not anything near what you were trying to smear me as. Nothing even close. Some unfaithful or evil person. Like they were a little bit closer to that than me, just to be honest. So gaslighting can be people like playing with your reality in all sorts of ways, playing with reality. Groups of people in entire situations messing with what you're really dealing with and having to deal with. And like you will be sitting there sacrificing as hard as you can, crying your eyes out, going crazy, not knowing what to do, which is a common mental state that healthy, strong, successful people will be led into a state of utter mental meltdown over these kinds of abusive situations, overwhelmed and tricked and ruminating and can't ever figure it out, double binds, triple binds, no answers, all because someone else is playing games with their faith and their soul and their mind. That's just wicked. So gaslighting can be very damaging, and it can come in all different ways. That's part of the liar. When you're dealing with a liar, how damaging they can be over just arrogant, selfish, not taking you into account and not even caring. And they'll blame you. Like if it puts you into a state where you're sick and you're not able to cope, and you're having mental issues or functioning issues because it's just so. It's an absolute double bind, and you need to figure it out now, and you never can. Things like that. They will say, and they'll try to convince therapists and psychologists that you're the problem, and they're calm and wonderful, and things are great for them because they're the abuser all the time. The Cassandra syndrome is what that's also known as. That's a little bit on the pure lying. So that brings us to number 17, slanderer. Number 18, gossip, because they're envious and jealous. And this is where you'll see smear campaigns, character assassinations, even during the love bomb stage. They always want to stay superior, in control of all their lives that are hard to keep up, ahead of the game, above you, 3 or 4 steps ahead of you or what you're thinking. If not just to always have to be the leader and dominate, it's to keep all their balls in the air, because they have a lot going on. So you can't ever trust them. This is a liar. They will gossip and slander about you in a heartbeat. And all of their relationships are not real. Their new relationships will not be real, and they'll probably be worse because these people get worse. And it's part of the lying. Part of the lying is the masks, which is number 19. The very convincing masks that they wear that they convince everyone with, and themselves often. It's what I call the interface between their unimaginable evil things they will do to you, which is 3 or 4 steps beyond the worst and the craziest thing you can ever imagine. So they have to interface that horror with something that you will accept. So they're always using words and emotions. Ideas, ideals, emotions, and words to build up big pictures and to catch your feelings. And that's how they interface with people. So a lot of times it won't be normal. It won't be boring. It won't be mundane. It won't be gradual. It'll be whirlwind. And that's why. That's a telltale. They have to sell themselves as capable of love, warmth, caring, giving, accepting you, and personable. This is the interface. The mask is the interface. And we all have interfaces. So we need to be careful of that ever leaving reality. But it shouldn't be outside of real reality. They take things that are kind of excusable or understandable and just stretch them out to lies, just hardcore lies. I'm not saying we all have masks. We just have like an interface, like we would interact with our children, especially our very small children, differently than we would with our boss at work. So this is why they will use a lot of fake charm, feelings, words, lies, and they'll find out things like your imagination, things that you would want and to fulfill it perfectly. Sometimes it's deliberate with mirroring, to deeply mirror someone, like when you first get to know them, find out what they all like and want, and then fulfill it to a T to manipulate you. But sometimes they are so caught up in their seduction vortex that they find someone that they can have a deep magnetism to, and the devil is working with them with this, I believe. So they really want to mirror you. Sometimes I think they desire to mirror you because it just builds the magnetism. And it's all part of the lie. They're such a liar and they lie all the time that they don't know that that's a lie. They can't just mirror you. They've got to be their person, but they don't even know to do that. That goes deep. I need to do a whole video on the mirroring and what that really is and what the love bombing really is, because sometimes it's pure manipulation. Sometimes they're believing it and they're feeling it. But whenever they're matching you and fulfilling you, it's because they deeply lust to be so magnetic with you, and so they gravitate toward everything they can that you do have in common. So sometimes it's not deliberate on purpose manipulation, if that makes sense. But you have to learn to say no to a utopia that you're sold, and be gratified and enriched with the mundane and deep, rich reality. Because your desire needs to be that it's built on a rock. That needs to be your desire way more than physical, things like that. Or things that may seem that they're kind of gradual and boring. And you need to have things in common with someone. You absolutely do. And you do need to be attracted. But there's a difference. And they especially can't be without God and able to hook you emotionally. That's an absolute no. And guys, there's been so many times in my life, there's been several strong, good times in my life, maybe under a dozen, that I have had such magnetism with someone and such need. I needed to be with them, but they were so ungodly. And I think the Lord let that happen to give this example, not because I was wicked in my desire, because I'm just a young, healthy person trying to have a relationship. But I'm just saying it happens, and this is how to handle it. I had to block, stay away, think about other things, and determine that no matter how I felt, no matter how I privately felt, I had to not do that. I had to obey God, no matter the pain. This is what it means to live a righteous lifestyle and to be sacrificial, and to hear at the end of the day, well done, thy good and faithful servant, and not hear, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. That's part of it. You have to ignore your feelings, and you have to get deep with God and say, Lord, take this away. Give me better wisdom. Help me know how to act. It'll happen. That's what I'm trying to say is that's not that you're wicked and give up. That can happen, especially as society is so unhealthy that you don't find your good Christian partner quickly. But even worldly people, I think, say no to things like this for more wiser choices, to like not damage their children. They don't go around hopping to all the bars and fall in love with 50 people and have a bunch of one night stands. You can do that. Anybody could learn to do that. That's called a fornicator, and that's called idolater, and that goes to the lake of fire because it's so destructive in every way imaginable, and it cuts you off from light and from God. But the other end of that is not doing it on purpose, but accidentally finding it, accidentally having rich magnetism with someone who might be doing it on purpose to catch you into these hell traps. So it can happen, but you'll get out quicker than you think. It's part of when you see somebody at the end of their life who lived righteously, they went through some of that. It wasn't just always easy, and they always did not have an ungodly or something that would have led them away from God. They had needs and things too. They stuck it out. They did not enjoy the season of pleasure with Egypt. They stayed with God instead. They were the sojourner who was looking for the eternal city of God. They did not enjoy the pleasures of sin for a short season. They decided, I'm going to do my best to not do that. When nobody's perfect, but there's a difference. And so that's part of it. You will have feelings sometimes, but you've got to be braced that that's a lie. You will get out of it, and this is why you live for God. And when you have that determination, that does something in you where you'll get out of it quicker. You won't stay in it. You'll get out of it quicker because your mind and your body will be tired of suffering, of not, being led into a lie. You're like, you know what, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing it, it's too painful, I'm just out. And you'll leave. Especially with God's miracles. When you really get close to God, it's amazing, the miracles. Those are the real miracles. It's great if people can walk out of their wheelchair, but those are some miracles too, of getting out of these things. These are testimonies. So the mask, they use their mask on purpose to form, it's a sales tactic. They want to form a need in you that you didn't even have beforehand, so they can have their way with everything that you've worked hard for, because they're building on the sand, and that don't work. They'll use their mask and their interface to form things in you like a desperation or a habit. That way they can manipulate you. They do it on purpose to manipulate reality, the world, and people like you to fulfill their addictions. They always use everyone. They always ruin lives. The masks that they have are like habits. So with the mask, they either use them on purpose deliberately, and or they even believe their own mask, and they just build these false realities. And it's sad they try to suck us into it. A quote from Proverbs 22:3, "The prudent sees the evil and hides. The simple pass on and are punished." And that's so true with so many situations. So this brings me to our second category. Number 20 is traps. They are traps. I've discussed that at length.